Our service doesn't end after we leave the military. The mission changes, but we still find the need to be of service. What's yours? Listen in as we talk to our guests about their military careers and life after the uniform in their second service. This podcast is sponsored by Fortis et Fidelis, a brand dedicated to honoring the brave and faithful. Make sure to check out fortis-fidelis.com and support the podcast by subscribing to the show and leaving us a 5-star review on all the podcast platforms. Now, let's get to the show. What's going on, everyone? Raiden here, and we just want to let you all know that for the second year in a row, the Brave and Faithful podcast has been nominated by the Veteran Podcast Awards as one of the top best overall podcasts and the best Navy-hosted podcasts. Make sure you all go to veteranpodcastawards.com/vote and vote for our podcast for the best overall and the best Navy-hosted podcast. Voting begins August 8th and ends September 18th. So again, head over to veteranpodcastawards.com/vote and vote for the Brave and Faithful podcast for the best overall and the best Navy-hosted podcast. Thank you all for your support. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Brave and Faithful podcast. Today, I have with me a former Navy SEAL. He is an actor, writer, and director. He's been in such films as Transformers Last Night, Six Underground, and The Terminal List recently. And he's also a best-selling author of the book Transformed: Journey from the Throne of Africa to the Streets of the Bronx, New York. I have with me Remi Adeleke. How you doing, Remi?
I'm doing great, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate you again for taking the time, man. Before we get into what you're doing now in the film and writing all these best-selling books, talk to us a little bit about your time in the Navy. And I mentioned you were a Navy SEAL. How long did you serve for, and what was your deciding factor in transitioning out of the service?
Yeah, so I joined the Navy in 2002. I started out as a corpsman. So
awesome.
I was a corpsman, Navy corpsman, just like you. Went to boot camp at Great Lakes and went from boot camp to A school there in Great Lakes. And then my first duty station was actually Naval Hospital, Camp Pendleton. So I got stationed there. Right before I got there, I had already made the decision that I wanted to go to BUD/S and be a SEAL, but I couldn't swim. I didn't have the academic scores, and I was super skinny, so I didn't qualify in any way in boot camp to go to BUD/S, whereas a lot of guys in my division did. And so when I got to my first command, Naval Hospital Camp Pendleton, I worked at the family practice clinic, so I would work 4 hours in the morning and then 4 hours in the afternoon. But then I asked my LPO at the time, hey, can you move my schedule around so that I could work 4 hours in the morning and have the afternoon off, and then I'll come back and work the night clinic. And she did. So I had 4 hours in the day to train, study the ASVAB book and learn how to swim and just do all the things I needed to do. It was a perfect environment for me because, as you know, I would assume that you've been at Camp Pendleton before. It's such a vast, massively large, and I didn't have a car. And the old hospital was out in the boondocks.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
It was by that lake over there, and then all I had was the hospital, and then right across the street was the barracks, and then down the street a little bit was the gym. So that was my life, I didn't have a car, I didn't have money for a cab or any of that stuff, so I would just run everywhere. And so, like I said, it was the best training ground for me because I really got a chance to kind of prepare. And I checked into that command in January 2003, and by January 2004, I was in BUD/S, so I was kind of on a fast track, and then got to BUD/S. Way more to the story, but fast forward, made it through Hell Week, got to second phase, diet-phase training, ended up failing in evolution 4 times. And because I had already been performance role for swims in first phase, this would be another performance role. So I ended up getting performance drop for buds. So I got kicked out of buds. Went back to Camp Pendleton, was in First Marine Division this time. I did it like a year and a half there. I was able to get out after a deployment that I did with them because my LPO, HM1 Rosca, super good dude. He went from being like the LPO of like our BAS to being like the LPO of all of First Marine Division. And he knew that I wanted to be a SEAL, and he knew how hard I worked and all that. So like, when he got to his next command, right after he checked out of First Marine Division, right after he checked out of Battalion 1-4, he told the command master chief for First Marine Division, he was like, "Hey, I got this dude. He's a hard worker. Like, he made it through Hell Week and made it to dive phase the first time in buds, and like he could totally make it." So the master chief was like, "All right, I'll let him go to buds, but he has to get his FMF pin, and he has to sign I forgot what it called, like a page 9 or something like that, page 13,
page 13. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, hey, he has to sign a page 13 that says that if he doesn't make it through buds, he has to come back and do 2 deployments. On top of the one that I just did, I would have to do 2 deployments and a minimum of 3 years in First Marine Division, before I do anything else. So I signed. I was like, hey, I bet on myself, dude. I signed that page. I was like, Roger that. I think he was kind of using that to kind of scare me. So I was like, I don't care. Like, I'll take the risk. So I was like, Roger that. And signed at page 13, got my FMF pin, and went back to buds. So I got back to buds pretty quick, and then made it through buds. And then we was on the West Coast teams, SEAL Team 3. Did some time at SR, it's now called SRT1, but SA1. Back to Team 3. And did some stuff with the training command for a little bit, and it was a great career, man. I had some great deployments and worked with some great guys, like legends, guys who are have now passed on to the other side, but some really great dudes. And so that was a total of about 8 years I did. So I did a total of 13 and a half years in the Navy.
Okay.
Like 8 of those years were in the teams, and then in 2014, my first son was born. 2015, my second son was born. And then I had to make a decision, hey, towards the end of 2015, you know how it is, kind of like your position right now where you're PCS and getting ready to go to another command. It was like, hey, do you go back and mobilize and deploy and start all over again? Because I was on like shore duty, or do you get out of the Navy and, be a father? So I decided to get out in January 2016.
Okay. And then that was the total of, you said, about 13 and a half years or so.
Yeah, 13 and a half years. I joined in June of July 2nd, 2002, and January 8th of 2016 was my last day. So yeah, that's a total of 13 and a half.
Yeah, man. A couple of things I want to point out for our audience in the, just from what you said there. You joined the Navy, but you didn't notice, like, there's obstacles that you had, but you didn't let that, get in the way of you getting to your goals, right? You joined the Navy, but you didn't know how to swim, but you got through that. You were at your first duty station in Camp Pendleton. You didn't have a car, but you kind of use that to your advantage to build your stuff up, to go to train your body for buds, right? And then the second time around, you're kind of given like an ultimatum, right? Like, you can go and try out again to be a SEAL, but if you fail, then you have to come back into 2 deployments. So talk to our audience about like the mindset that goes into that. Like, what was like in your mind at that time, is like, even with all these obstacles that were kind of placed in your way, what kind of helped you to get through that?
Yeah, I would say, it goes even before the Navy, man. Like, I've always, ever since I was a kid, I always had this ability to look at like a giant or a mountain and just say to myself, oh, I can conquer that. And everybody else around me is like, nah, that's impossible. Like, there's no way like I've always like had this mind. I think it goes back to an engineering mind because my dad was an engineer, and so he always had a way of looking at things and being able to kind of figure out just by looking at it without the manual or anything like that how to put it together so that it could be successful. And I think that that's always been my mindset, and I get a lot of it from my mom too because my dad died. I wasn't born in the States. I was born in Nigeria, and so when my dad died, my mom, moved my brother and I back to the States. I say back because my mom is American. And, she had to persevere really, really hard to provide for us and to, try and make a way. And there was a lot of struggles, but, I had an example of what it meant to persevere like every single day. Like it just became second nature to me because of how my mom, just worked multiple jobs and put in the work to just, provide for my brother and I, and so fast forward to when it was time for me to join the Navy, like, and there's more to the story. I had 2 months out from my arrest when I went to go join and met a recruiter who, took me to the judges, got my record cleared, and then fudged the paperwork to sneak me into the Navy. So there's more to it. But I say all that to say, by the time I got to boot camp and I saw I'll never forget it, I was in boot camp and all of these guys, we were put in this auditorium and the SEAL came in and he was like, who wants to go to BUD/S? And he showed this video of what SEALs did. And I already knew that I wanted to be a SEAL. And, and he was like, all right, if you qualify, come with me to take the screening test. And I just remember at that moment, I knew that I didn't qualify in absolutely any way. Like I said, it wasn't just the physicality, like it was the academics as well. Like I didn't have the ASVAB score, but when all those guys walked out of the room to go take the screening test because they had already qualified medically or academically via the ASVAB, I just knew that was a point where I made that decision where I was like, I know I'm totally unqualified, but I'm gonna do this. And I think again that goes back to my upbringing and just what I had learned from my mom and just what was a part of my nature, just what was just unconsciously within me to be able to look at a challenge, an extreme challenge, and be able to say, hey, I can make this happen, And so, and I tell people all the time, I said, when you have a dream, like it's called a dream for a reason because a dream is a big thing. A dream is not a small thing. And, every single person is going to have some type of deficiency as it relates to achieving that dream. If they didn't have a deficiency that's going to make it hard, then it wouldn't be called a dream. And so when you have a deficiency or you have an obstacle, whatever you may call it, you can either do one of two things. You can either, do the extra hard work in order to overcome those deficiencies or challenges so that you can reach your dream, or you can just throw your hands up and say, I'm never going to be able to do it, and you don't achieve it. And, even now working in Hollywood is a very, very tough environment to work in. Like trying to be a director, that's like trying to be a Navy SEAL. Like, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
the odds of being a director is like probably higher than, the odds of trying to be a SEAL. And, like I've had to bet on myself, a lot. I've had to put up money to fund like my first project so that I can get something. But again, that mindset that I have now is just like everybody's like, "Oh, that's impossible! Like you can't be a director. Like you're almost 40 and you're starting your career late in Hollywood and this and that. You know how impossible it is for people to get money to direct the film and do this and do that." And I'm just always looking at it like, I could do this. Like I know I could do this. Like I know I hear what you guys are saying, but I could achieve this. So again, I think it just comes back to that mindset, that ability to make a choice. And it all comes back down to a choice for every single person. It comes down to a choice where you have to say, I could do this. I know this is impossible. I know there are limits, but I know I could do this. I don't know how I'm going to do it, right? There's a difference between knowing how and knowing that you can or cannot, but I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I know I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it happen. That's a choice, either A or B. I'm not going to do it. And I think so many people quit in life and don't achieve their dreams and goals because they don't make that firm choice from the beginning, So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like from what you're saying, like your upbringing and your story before even joining the Navy kind of helped you shaped your future, right? Kind of just shaped who you are and who you turned out to be, basically.
Yes, 100%.
I want to go back to what you were the book Transformed. You mentioned that you lost your father at an early age, and you were on the book. you were actually like royalty, right? In
Yeah,
Nigeria.
yeah. So my
Yeah.
last name Adeleke, it means the crown is above. So there are three major tribes. There's more tribes, but there's three major tribes in Nigeria: it's Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba. So I'm Yoruba, and so my grandfather was like a chief in the Yoruba tribe, which in Western culture we refer to royalty as king, queen, prince, princess, Dutch, that sort of thing. But in Nigerian culture and a lot of other West African culture and African culture in general, like royalty, like a king is referred to as chief. And father was a chief, and then my grandfather had like 7, 8 wives, and my dad was the firstborn son to my grandfather. So my dad inherited the title of chief, being the firstborn son. So just naturally, my brothers and I are all chiefs, right?
Wow.
We're all kind of Yoruba royalty. So yeah.
So after basically your father died, you passed away, you guys moved back to Bronx to New York,
Yeah.
and then you were basically stripped of any like your royalty or wealth and things like that.
Well, it's mainly wealth. So my dad is a lot to the story, but essentially my dad, the Nigerian government is very, very corrupt. So they pretty much stripped my dad of like his most valuable asset that he had invested millions of dollars in. And he had wrapped up all his finances into this one particular project called the Lagoon Development Project, which is actually one of the first man-made islands in the world. And now it's known as Banana Island, and a bunch of billion. Actually, the one of the richest people in the world has an island, has a property on Banana Island, which my dad created and developed. And so, in the midst of the Nigerian government stripping my father of that asset, he died weeks later. So, and he was a lawyer as well. Again, my dad was a very brilliant man. He was like a lawyer, engineer. He had all his degrees were from the UK because that's where he was educated. He's an architect, all that stuff. So, when they took that from him, he went to go fight them in court. He died weeks later. In the midst of him dying, like there was nobody left to fill that void. My half brother, who's older than me, he was like either like still in law school or just out of law school in the UK. And so him trying to come to Nigeria, which is a totally different system, and battle the Nigerian government was just like improbable. There was the chance of that happening and him winning was improbable. And so, yeah, we lost everything.
Mm.
We lost everything. We went from rich to poor. And that's why I always say like it goes back. A lot of what I've learned comes back to my mom because my mom was like living a high life and she went from rich to poor, like
Yeah.
down square one, and to be in that position, she could have easily given up. She could easily quit and said, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. There's no way I'm going to. My mom never remarried, never dated, really, never remarried when we were a kid. And she's still not married. And she could have done that. My mom's an attractive woman, so she could have got married, found a guy, all of this stuff. But she chose not to. She chose to take the hard route. And so that's why I say a lot of who I am comes from her and my dad, DNA in my mind,
Yeah.
DNA blood as far as him being an engineer and a smart man and super diverse in his career, and then and the way I was brought up, the circumstances that kind of brought me to where I'm at today, that all made me who I am.
Yeah, I think it goes back. Want to support an active duty owned brand? Head over to fortis-fidelis.com. Again, that's fortis-fidelis.com, and help us in honoring the brave and faithful service of our nation's defenders. All proceeds will help us create and provide memorial coins to the families of our fallen service members. Again, that's fortis-fidelis.com, and help Fortis et Fidelis in honoring the brave and faithful. Back to what you were saying earlier, right? Your mom made a choice. Either, you push forward or you quit, right?
Yeah.
We all have that choice. And, obviously she chose to move forward and raise you on her own. And that's awesome. So, you mentioned before entering the Navy there, you had some shortcomings, some mistakes that you as a youth, right?
Yeah.
how did those shortcomings or mistakes kind of lead you on the journey that you're in now?
Uh, well, as far as like now, as far as where I'm at now, um, I just try to use my life as an example to young kids who come from where I come from, that you can make it out. Like, yeah, you may have done bad things. Yeah, you may have made mistakes, but you still have potential. I actually just co-founded a charter school in Muskegon, Michigan, which is a rough inner city in Michigan. And one of the reasons why I came on board to co-found this school, and we're opening up our doors this September,
Mm,
starting K through 5. One of the main reasons why I did that was because I was those kids in the inner city. A lot of the kids in Muskegon are they live in single parent homes. And I grew up in a single parent home. There's drugs and crime in that area. There was drugs and crime in my area. So I feel like I could speak these kids' language, like I could empathize with them because, I came from where they currently are. And so, as far as what I do is I try to take my experiences and make life easier for kids who come from where I came from, and, just help give them a leg up, so to speak. And, one of the things that we're going to be doing in the school is like once a month, we want to bring in a speaker
mm,
from a different walk of life. Maybe 1 month we'll bring in a doctor, 1 month we'll bring in a lawyer, 1 month we'll bring in a SEAL, 1 month we'll bring in somebody from the film and TV industry, 1 month we bring in a marine biologist. And the reason why we want to do that is because we want to expose these kids to these different avenues. Because one coming out of the inner city is, there's a lack of exposure to the world and to other opportunities. And growing up in the inner city, a lot of kids, all they hear is like selling drugs, rapping, or sports, and that's what good number of them do because that's what they're exposed to. And
right.
so, the one thing I learned is that if you can expose kids to other avenues and show them that the world is bigger than Muskegon, or the world is bigger than the Bronx, then that will widen their horizons, and then they'll begin to gain the confidence, and they'll be able to say, like I've said many times, I could do that. I didn't know that existed, but I could do that, and I want to do that. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know I can do it. But part of the how is school, because we want to be able to set these kids up for success so that they can learn the how, and we can help walk them through how to attain whatever goal it is that they want to reach. So in short, that's kind of how I take my experiences from the past and pass them on today.
And you mentioned that charter school opening up September. That's September of 2022 this year. That's in Michigan, correct?
Yep, Muskegon, Michigan. If anybody'd like to, go to the website, check it out, donate. You can go to Muskegon Maritime Academy dot org, and yeah, we're fully up and running. We have a full facility, which is awesome. There was a public school that, you know, right before the pen. Nah, I want to say right about 6 years ago because of funding. Again, Muskegon is in a very depressed area, but because of funding, the public school got shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And then a adult learning center took over the school, and then during the pandemic that got shut down, and so like the building has been well kept. It's a massive building, 40 classrooms, 2 floors. So yeah, we got a formal facility, and we're actually under we're still under renovation, interior renovation, but yeah, we're going to be up and running and actually now in a few weeks.
That's awesome. That's awesome,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to transition into what you're doing now. Acting, writing, and directing. How did you? Is that something that you like wanted to do? Before the Navy, like, how did you get into that space?
Yeah, no, it's never anything that I wanted to do. As far as how I got in, when I started my bachelor's, I want to say when I was still in, and then I finished my bachelor's, I want to say in 2015, and then in 2015, as soon as I finished my bachelor's, I jumped into my master's. Now, my bachelor's was in organizational leadership. My master's is in organizational strategy, which is essentially a business degree. And the reason why I was in school was because I wanted to. my plan was to go into business consulting.
Mm.
I had relationships with some very wealthy businessmen who own different companies all across the country and even internationally. And they were super fond of SEALs, and they would bring SEALs in as consultants to, talk about special operations principles that translate into business. So I kind of started doing that, and so fast forward to end of 2015, when I was making my plan to get out, that's what I figured I'd go into. So that's why I continued my master's degree. And I
Okay.
figured, because I didn't want to just have the title of being a SEAL, I wanted to have the educational credibility as well. So I was getting my master's. Even when I got out January, I was still in school. Um, uh, February, March, April, May 2016, a woman who worked with Michael Bay reached out to me and said, "Hey, Michael Bay's looking for a former Navy SEAL who's African American to work on Transformers the last night. It's just going to be one day of work." I was just like, "No problem." I was literally in my office writing papers at the time, and writing a paper when I got the phone call. And
That's crazy. You just got a phone call.
yeah, that's how it happened. Yeah.
Wow.
Uh, and she asked me to send her some pictures. I sent her pictures of me in my uniform. I told her I don't have any formal pictures, and she said, "Oh, just send me pictures of you and deployed or whatever, an operational kit." So I sent it to her, and then like an hour later, she reached out to me. It's like, "Hey, babe, I want you to work on the project." So I was like, "All right, cool." So that was just supposed to be one day. That one day, and it turned into 3 weeks, and 3 weeks, and it turned into 6 months. And
Wow.
that was my first project in Hollywood, and that was Transformers the Last Night. And then right after that, like I was hired to work on two commercials with Peter Berg as on camera, but also like a consultant, quasi consultant as well. And then I worked on SEAL Team. It's just as a consultant slash on camera thing, and it just kept on going from there. And Michael Bay reached out to me to work on Six Underground, and then I would get the scripts, to before I would work on these projects as consultants, because the writers and the producers and director wanted to make sure it was authentic. And I just remember reading a lot of the scripts for projects that I worked on. I was just like, man, this writing is bad. I have a background in writing as well, and I was just like, man, this sucks. And I was like, if these guys can get paid millions of dollars to do this, like I can sit and write this myself. So that's when and it was around that time where I was writing my book as well. So I was just like, I finished writing my book, and then I wrote my very first screenplay. And I was working on Six Underground, which is a Netflix film at the time. That was a
Right.
lead consultant for that. And that's when I was just, and Michael Bay gave me a lot of opportunity to like be next to him, and at the monitor, and when he was calling action, and just learn from him, and you like help out with stuff. And so that's when I was just like, I want to be a writer director. I don't want to be a consultant anymore. I don't want to be an actor. Like, I want to be a writer director. I could do this. Kind of like what I said before about the being a CEO. It's just like, I know I could do this. Like, I know I could do this. And so that's when I really started focusing on my screenwriting, and wrote this one script called The Chameleon. Um, I'll circle back to that because it's a huge story around that. And then I wrote my second script called The Last Shall Be First, which is a true story about the first group of African Americans to serve in special operations. And right after I wrote those two screenplays, I got introduced to an agency, APA, which is my agents now, and they read my agent there read the screenplay. He was like, "Yo, you're a great writer. We'd like to sign you to represent you as a writer." A few weeks later, those two screenplays were submitted to a guy, a producer who had a book that he wanted to be adapted into a film. So he read my screenplays and was like, "Hey, I'd like to hire you." So I got my first professional writing job, which got me into the WGA, which is the Writers Guild of America. I got hired to adapt this book into well, it was supposed to be a film, but then after I read the book, I told the producer, I was like, "I don't think we should do this as a book. I think we should do this as a limited series." And he agreed. And so anyway, that I got hired to adapt the book into a limited series for TV. And then that's when I really started, focusing a lot more. And then the Chameleon screenplay ended up getting picked up by a big producer. I did rewrites with that producer on the Chameleon for about a year, and then right after I finished rewrites, we attached a star. Right after we attached a star, a buddy of mine who's an author and read the screenplay and was like, "This would be an awesome book series,
Mm.
a spy espionage series." So I was like, "All right, great." He's like, "Let me introduce you to my agent." He introduced me to his agent. His agent read the screenplay. It's like, "I agree. This would be a phenomenal book series. Can we put together a proposal?" We put together a proposal, and that screenplay ended up getting turned into a book. So I signed like a big book deal with HarperCollins William Murrow, and I actually just turned in book one of that. It's a fiction thriller series. I just turned in book one on Monday, actually, this
Yeah,
past month.
you just finished it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I just finished it this Monday and turned it in Monday, and that's a huge franchise. It's like I got a huge book franchise which started from a screenplay that I wrote. It's about to be a film franchise, and that's like kind of one of the steps towards me being a director. And then after I finished the rewrites, another thing that on the Chameleon, I wrote and directed my first short film. Because in order for you to get a director job, you have to have directed at least a short. So after I wrote and directed that short film, my agents, I shot it, agents loved it. Long as there's way more to the story, but I'm shortening for the sake of time. They ended up just telling me to write the feature screenplay of the short film. So it's a 2 hour version of the 32-minute film. I wrote that, and now we're in the process of getting that film, which is called The Unexpected. Well, The Unexpected is the short film. The Unexpected Redemption is the feature version. We're in process of getting that set up with a major studio, and we have getting financing and all that stuff together around it. And so that's going to be a major movie that I'm going to write and direct. And then that short film just got into a festival, which is an Oscar qualifier. So again, everyone was like, it's going to be impossible for you to do it. And
Right.
the project that I wrote and directed is now in a festival, which now qualifies me to submit it for the Oscars. Right. So like, it's just one of those things where, you're going to have deficiencies, setbacks, obstacles on the way towards your dream. And it's about, doing the work and being consistent and doing the work and realizing that it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. I've been in the business for 6 years now. And I'm just now getting to the place where, I got a film in the festival that I wrote and directed, and that film is now getting set up to be a big movie and all of the stuff. But I said years ago that I would be able to do it,
Right.
but and here I am, and I don't say that, with arrogance. I say that as a learning lesson for every single person, who's going to be listening to this, and say, man, you could literally, you could do absolutely anything, especially, people from military backgrounds, because there's things that we've gone through in the military, whether you deployed or not deployed, there's experiences that you have that you can't get anywhere else. And there's a level of perseverance that comes from, serving in the military, and the structure from, having to be up early in the morning and having to go to PT and having to follow orders. Like those are lessons that you can't get anywhere. And then once you get out of the military, those are all lessons that you can apply to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, And so again, I'm saying all of this stuff not to boast. I'm sharing the lessons just as a template, so listeners, especially those in the military, can understand that the world is your oyster. You can literally do whatever you want to do. Not anything, like you can't murder people, right? But you can start whatever business, or or achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. Just realize it's going to be hard, and do the work and make the choice to do it. And don't wait for anybody to help you or do it for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible journey, brother. I mean, like you said it yourself in the beginning, right? You once again betted on yourself, right? Even when people were telling you, "Oh no, that's impossible. You can't do that."
Yeah.
You went ahead and did it anyway, and look where you're at now, right? Like,
Yeah. And on that note, to bet on myself. Sorry to cut you off. On that note, to bet on myself, I wanted to direct the project, and I knew that in order for me to direct a film, I needed to direct a short first, and I knew that nobody would let me do that. So I put up the money. I bet on myself. I put up over $150,000 of my own money to shoot, produce, write, and post production my first short film that's now in this festival. I had to bet on myself because nobody did. I had to put up the money. I had to do it because nobody would do it for me. So, that lesson of betting on myself, I did that when the Master Chief was like, "You want to go to Buds? All right, well, sign this page 13. Sign away your life to me, for the next 3 years. If you don't make it, I'll bet on myself. I'll sign away because I know I'm going to make it." Same thing, like, hey, you want to be a director? Put up $150,000 of your own money, and if you sure you want to do that, yeah, I'm bet on myself, and and that's what life is about, man. Like, nobody, no one will believe in you like you will believe in you. Like your mother, your father, your friends, nobody. Like, they'll say they do, but nobody will believe in you like you'll believe in yourself. And so, it's all about taking that risk and betting on yourself, and that's how the needle moves, in my opinion.
Yeah. So Remi, through the, you said you've been in the industry for about 6 years now. Writing, acting, directing, also with your books. What would you say has been kind of like your most rewarding moment or experience you've had throughout this journey?
I would say my kids having the life that they have. That's it. I would just say, just being able to
Provide, yeah.
provide a life for my kids that I didn't have, after my dad died. I think that to me is everything, and at the end of the day, like, I have this conversation with my wife and my kids sometimes. They're so too young to fully understand it, but I tell them, like, everything that I do is for you. Like, yes, I want to be a director. Yes, I want to, because I know that if I could do that, that's going to make your life better. Like, financially, you'll be set up. That's why, like, this book deal is important, because now I have intellectual property, right? So, 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, my grandkids will still be eating off of this book deal, this book franchise. And if it turns into a movie, which is on track to, this book deal that I signed, my great grandkids will be eating off of that. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's all about legacy. It's all about, and so my most, happy moments is when the weekend hits and my kids are able to run around in that big house we live in, and they're able to go to Coronado and eat at nice restaurants and travel and all of that stuff, and smile and just not have a care in the world. And that for me is it,
Yeah, definitely. That kind of hits home, man. Being a father myself, father of two girls, it's just like, everything that you set out to do, like all the goals and things that you want to accomplish in life. Obviously, main thing is you want to provide a better life for your kids. And definitely.
And then that goes back to, like, why do I bet on myself now? It's because I know that I'm going to succeed, and in me succeeding in that bet and that gamble, whatever you want to call it, my kids will succeed.
Definitely.
I'm taking risks so that they won't have to,
Definitely. So Remi, before we go to the second segment of the podcast here, what's one thing you want our audience to take away from this episode?
I think I already kind of said it. Believe in yourself. Don't make excuses, man. Don't make excuses, and don't doubt yourself. Believe in yourself. It's so easy to come up with an excuse as to something. It's easier to come up with an excuse than it is not to. Than it is to put your head down and just charge forward and get the job done. So, if there's one thing, is believe in yourself. That's the biggest thing. Believe in yourself, and then do the work.
Yeah,
do the work.
It also goes. It ties in with the mindset, right? Like, if you don't have the right mindset, then you're kind of like starting off on the wrong foot to begin with.
Yep.
What's going on, everyone? Raiden here, and we just want to let y'all know that for the second year in a row, the Brave and Faithful podcast has been nominated by the Veteran Podcast Awards as one of the top best overall podcasts, the best Navy hosted podcasts. Make sure you all go to veteranpodcastawards.com/vote and vote for our podcast for the best overall and the best Navy hosted podcast. Voting begins August 8th and ends September 18th. So again, head over to veteranpodcastawards.com/vote and vote for the Brave and Faithful podcast for the best overall and the best Navy hosted podcast. Thank you all for your support. All right, Remi. So going into the second segment of the podcast here. So this is what I call the Fast Five.
Mm-hmm.
These are the same 5 questions I asked all my guests. First question: what's one hobby you enjoy?
One hobby I enjoy. I don't have many hobbies. I do go I don't go skydiving as much as I used to, but I do like skydiving. I love watching movies. I mean, if we're gonna get straight to an answer, like
Watching movies.
Watching movies. I just love it. And again, it's I'm in the movie business, so I just love watching movies and learning from directors, especially really good directors. But like tonight, like I'm just super excited because I'm gonna watch a movie that I haven't seen tonight. And I'm just like thinking about it, So yeah, movies.
Do you pull any more inspiration from just watching other films as well?
Oh, 100%. I get ideas. I learn different ways to move the camera. I learn, I learned so many lessons, from watching film, the do's and don'ts, and I definitely get inspiration. Especially after I finish the script and I'm like trying to think about like what actor do I want to play, what actor do I want to play this particular character's role. Watching movies, like I get so many ideas from watching actors. I'm like, oh, I never thought about that actor for this movie I wrote. That'd be a good idea. So I get a lot from watching movies, man. A lot.
So Remi, next question. If you had to choose one person to hang out with for one day, who would it be and why?
Oh man, that's such a great question. Who would it be and why? Christopher Nolan. I'll say Christopher Nolan. Because Christopher Nolan is, I love writer-directors.
Right.
And he's, in my opinion, he's one of the best. Him, Tarantino, fantastic. Those are 2 great, fantastic writer-directors. And, I just love to sit with him and just hang with him and learn from him on the set, for a day, for sure.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan, obviously with the Batman series, with
Inception,
yeah.
Interstellar. Yeah.
Interstellar, yep.
Yeah, he's Dunkirk.
Next question, Remi. Recommend a book for our audience to read.
Transformed. My book.
There you go.
Yeah.
Transformed.
And then when the Chameleon Black Box comes out, the fiction book, which it'll come out 2023, top of 2023, definitely read that book.
2023. Okay. What's your favorite quote and why?
I would say it's a quote that I kind of came up with, and it's a failure is only a failure if you don't learn from it, but if you learn from it, it's a lesson. And that quote, I just came up with that quote because I just remember being in a time period where I was reflecting on my life, and in reflecting on my life, I realized that I had so many failures.
Yeah.
But the thing that I just unconsciously learned to do was get the lessons out of those failures and then apply those lessons moving forward, and in return, turning that particular failure into a success. Case in point, like SEAL training. I didn't go into great detail about it, but one of the reason why I got kicked out of SEAL training, that was all on me. After I made it through Hell Week, I got super arrogant. I mean, I was just like, I'm this kid from the Bronx. I made it in SEAL training. I made it through Hell Week. All these guys quit. I'm still here. And, instead of working on what I needed to work on the weekend, I was out partying at the clubs and Gaslamp District, chasing girls, sleeping over at girls' houses. I was just like, wow. I was lying to girls and telling them I was a SEAL. I was just like, and Buds at the time, if anybody had any deficiencies or anything that they were struggling with, the instructors would show up on the weekends, Saturday and Sundays, and provide free remediation so that you could work on your task. And I was so, you know, beat from being up till 5 in the morning, that I would never show up. And in my mind, I was like, I don't need to go to that, right? I got super cocky, I got super arrogant. And then, that's why I ended up failing, my dive test and dive phase and getting kicked out of buds. And, I just remember, the lesson when I was bored and then instructors, said their piece. They said, hey, we're kicking you out of training. You failed this, and this. Like, we tried, blah, blah, blah. They said, do you have anything you want to say? And I was like, yeah. I was like, this is all on me. Like I didn't show up on the weekends. Like, I was out partying. I didn't work on my craft, and this is all on me. And that was the first time in my adult life that I had taken responsibility for my actions. That was the first time. I like before that I would always blame people. Oh, it's because of this person. Oh, it's because of that. Oh, it's because of this situation. And that was an eye opening experience for me. But I remember the lesson that I got out of being kicked out of SEAL training was never show up to anything unprepared. That was the key lesson I got from that failure. Never show up to anything unprepared. And I remember like the very next day, I didn't know if I would ever get a chance to go back to SEAL training because I knew I was getting sent to First Marine Division. And at the time, like guys were deploying and I know a few guys, couple guys who, got kicked out of buds or, quit buds and they went to First Marine Division and they either got killed in Iraq or Afghanistan or they got hit by ID and like permanently crippled and disabled. And so I didn't know if I was going to ever be able to get back to SEAL training. And so, but even despite that, the very next day after I got kicked out, I was in the pool, like
Yeah.
training. Like I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get a chance to come back, but the lesson I got out of this is never show up to anything unprepared. And if I get the opportunity to come back, I'm gonna be prepared. And I turned that failure into a lesson, and that lesson turned into success because I went back and I made it through SEAL training. So that's a quote that I've like that quote came out of that experience, and I just remember when I was writing my book, like that quote just kept on like permeating in my mind because as I was writing my story, it was very therapeutic because I was able to reflect on my life, and then reflect on my life. I realized how much I had failed in life. I finally realized, like, damn, I was like, dude, I failed like a million times. Like, how am I still here? And then, as I began to write the second part of each story, it was like, oh, it's because I learned from my failure. I turned those failures into learning lessons, and those learning lessons into successes. And so that's the quote that I try to live by and share is, a failure is only a failure if you don't learn from it, but if you learn from it, it's a lesson.
That's awesome. Awesome quote, man.
Yeah.
And then again, never show up to anything unprepared. That was
Yeah.
like the lesson you got from SEAL training.
Yep.
Last question here, Remi. Where do you see yourself in 5 years or even 10 years from now?
Yeah, I see myself having already directed two big feature movies, studio movies, and just on a roll. Those movies being big hits, and me continuing to make movies and tell stories not just for the sake of entertainment, but for the sake of educating, inspiring, and motivating people. Like all my stories that I write, there's like the first film that I wrote and directed, 32-minute short film, Unexpected. That film is about human trafficking. And yes, there is an entertaining component to it because it's a drama, but it's more so an educational piece because I'm educating the masses as to the reality of human trafficking, specifically organ harvesting, which is a major, major problem in the world, and a lot of people don't realize it. And so I see myself telling stories on a big screen, writing, directing movies, and educating the masses through film and TV.
Telling stories to educate, inspire, and motivate.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I noticed on your Instagram you have a apparel line as well, right? Yeah, Key Joe.
Yeah.
Can you
Yep.
share
Yep.
share real quick with our audience about that?
Yeah. So uh, when I first started on Instagram, and then as I progressed further, and then social, specifically Instagram, but
Mm-hmm.
Facebook too and Twitter as well. But I just always felt this need to inspire, motivate, and educate people through social media posts, right? Because social media can be used one or two ways,
Right.
either to edify self, like by receiving likes, comments, and followers, or to edify others by sharing inspirational, educational, motivational posts. And so, and there's a balance, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to just do that, but I think that as long as there's a healthy balance, then you're using social media the right way. And so, like, I would write these quotes all the time and post them with you know I remember using this Adobe Spark post app
Yeah.
to create posts, quote posts, and people would get a lot out of it. And I was just like, some of these posts, I was like, man, these are great quotes. What if I started an apparel line, and on that apparel line, I just put these quotes on there, things that will motivate, inspire, and educate people through wear. And that's essentially our main slogan. That's our mission statement, is to motivate, inspire, and educate people through wear. And so I started Kejo. I'm the majority owner in it. I have a co-owner slash business partner, Bradley Boyce. And so, yeah, we're going in over a year of business, crushing business. We started out with just 2 t-shirts, about 3 t-shirts: Kejo Standard, Solutions Are Greater Than Excuses, and then Only God Could Cancel Me. And then that just expanded. Now we have, Solutions Greater Than Excuses, Time to Pay the Man, Time to Pay the Man, and the Man
Man.
Time to Pay the Man. We have Process Greater Than Outcome, Unlimited Potential. We have not just t-shirts, we have sweaters, tank tops. And it's just freaking blown up over the year. We're on a TV show called SEAL Team CBS. One of the lead actors on there, he wears our shirts in the episodes, and in this upcoming season, he's wearing like 3 or 4 of our shirts, and that's like helped with sales tremendously. So yeah, man, and again, the premise of it is to motivate, inspire, and educate through wear. And we use the best material, so it's not just about, hey, just slap a quote on the shirt. Let's find the best material, the most comfortable material for people to be able to wear, and specifically wear when they're working out. So our t-shirts and tank tops, and specifically our t-shirts and tank tops, like, we use a specific blend, and it's great for working out. It's like, it's perfect for working out. I work out in nothing but casual shirts and tank tops, now, and the quality of it is really, really good. Our shirt quality and our tee quality. And then we have our sweaters, which, winter time's coming around, you got something cozy. So yeah, that's casual. You can get our stuff at casualwear.com. So KEJOWEAR.com. And yeah, it's something I'm super excited of and proud of.
It's awesome, man. And congrats on all the success, Remy. And again, thank you for sharing your story with us. You've definitely inspired, you've definitely educated and motivated our audience today, and can't wait for this to come out and
Yeah.
provide all that to the masses. One final thing, Remy, where can they follow you? Where can they support you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Hey, and thank you again for having me on, man. I appreciate it. And sorry we couldn't do this earlier. I know you reached out, a while back, but I was super swamped with work. So glad that we were able to eventually get this done. But
Definitely.
yeah, I'm on Remi Adeleke at Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Um, my Facebook, for some reason, is up, but it's been like, it's grayed out, so like I can't post on it. So if anybody's been trying to reach me on Facebook, I'm not ignoring you. I literally can't post or respond to messages on there. I've been trying to get it work fixed through Facebook since March, and I haven't been able to do that yet. So, but that's Remi Adeleke. You can still like it and follow it, but you just can't get. I can't post content on there, and I can't reply to messages. So there, and then casualwear.com is my website for my apparel company, and my school. That can be found there, Muskegon Maritime Academy.org. And yeah, that's so those are the primary places where people can find me.
Awesome, brother. Make sure you guys go check out Remi Adeleke on all social media, kjowear.com. Check out the school, the charter school in Michigan. Remi, again, thank you again for your time, man, and sharing your story. And hopefully I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, man. God bless to you and your listeners.
Awesome. Take care.
Hi, brother.